It felt like you were sick. You laying in bed telling yourself you're sick. You know, people call you on the phone and you say, I don't feel that good. Mama, I don't think I can go to school. But once you get up and start moving around a little bit. Last night after I talked with Pastor Goodman and told him I'd come here to preach today, I laid down and I started feeling real sick. I was developing sabicus mordicus. I was this far away from calling them saying, man, I know I told you I'd be there, but so I'm just having so much fun here today. So you get up. Now, the writer of the book of Hebrews in chapter 12 puts it picturesquely. He says, when you're running this race, yes, you're going to fall because you're faint. But the idea is to keep pursuing. You can't stop running. You can't stop reaching. You can't stop striving. You know, the Apostle Paul said it. He says, yeah, I got some stuff, but this one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind, I keep pressing. And the writer of Hebrews says it better. He says that don't you know that when you fall, that you are surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses. Now, these are not spectators, because he begins to read off a catalog of individuals who, just like you, were faint, but they kept pursuing. He says, when you fall down the next time, realize that all around you in the balcony of glory, that there are those who bear witness to the fact that if you just get up. So you see, Adam was in the Garden of Eden. He had nothing wrong in his life, had a perfect marriage, a perfect home, a perfect relationship with God, had no problems, no sickness, and Adam will stand up and tell you, but I still messed up. But even though I fell down, I got up and I kept right on going. So you might have messed up and you had no reason to mess up. But I'm here to tell you that God has a witness saying, all you got to do is just get up and try some more. There's another witness in the balcony of glory named Abraham, who had every reason in the world to believe that God would do what God said he would do. But he was too weak to accept God and his promise, and he kept lying about who his wife was. But Abraham said, I found out that God will make a way out of no way. If you've fallen because you can't seem to get the truth straight in your mind, just stand up and keep on going, because Abraham knows what it's like. There's David sitting up there saying, I lived a life of passion that took me outside of the realm of rectitude, and people talked about me and pointed their finger in my face. But I'm here to tell you that there's a God who can cleanse you from the inside out. All you got to do is just keep on trying to run. I'm ready to close now here. Jesus. They laid that cross on his back and they beat him all night long and treated him like he wasn't a child of God. And he was walking up Golgotha's lonely hill and even his knees buckled. He fell down because he was human. He was faint. Somebody came along and lifted that cross, because God says, even when you think you can't make it. Have you ever been there before? People look at you and see you dressed up. They don't know what you've been through. Have you ever been there before? Can I get a witness in this house who will tell you that sometimes you just can't make it? Folk call you up with all those platitudes about, don't you worry about a thing because God specializes. Don't you claim that. I don't have to claim poverty. Poverty done claimed me. And you just don't think you can go on any further. And everybody telling you, I hate it. I hate it. As a pastor. See, folk don't want pastors to be weak. Because if pastors are weak, then that means that half of y'all ain't got no shot. So when I come in and tell folk, you know, I'm struggling. No, you're not, pastor. You blessed by the best and too stressed to be in the mess. I don't need your poetry. If I'm telling you I don't feel like I can't make it, then dadgummit, I'm telling you I don't think I can make it. I don't need you telling me how. You know, I tell you how I'm doing and you give me God's medical report. Pastor, how you doing? Well, I'm feeling kind of bad. Well, the Lord is good. All the time. Well, you didn't ask how he was doing. You asked me how I was doing. You just can't go on sometimes. I remember what it was like, because it wasn't long ago. I remember waking up one Sabbath morning and I couldn't do it. I couldn't preach to other people because I needed something for myself. I was embarrassed and ashamed that I felt so weak, because weakness It's shameful. That's why we lie so much to each other in the house of God. That's why our testimonies are so weak and pusillanimous. Because we don't want to tell people that we're struggling with addiction, that we're struggling with brokenness, that we're struggling with sickness, that we're struggling with failure. We are faint. But don't you know, child of God, don't you understand that the mere fact that you are here today shows that you are still in the race? You might be faint, but you are yet pursuing. God looks down and says to that soul who's still crawling, I'm not going to let that one fail. Let me close with this story. That's a true story. Back in 1988, there was a young track star by the name of Derek Redmond who had distinguished himself in the area of track and field, particularly in the 400-meter dash. This man was good. He wasn't the best, but he was good enough to be among the best. And in 1988, he was destined to go to Seoul, Korea to compete in the Olympics to run for his country, the United States of America. Derek Redmond, while he was practicing one day, felt a pop in his ankle. And he went to the doctor, and the doctor told him that he had ruptured his Achilles tendon, torn it up. They showed him the x-ray. It looked like a ribbon cut to shreds. They said, we're going to work on you, and you should be able to walk again. He says, I want to run. They said, son, you have to be realistic. With a torn Achilles tendon like this, you may never run again, much less at a level that you used to run at. But Derek would not stop. He got a surgery. He got another surgery. In 4 years' time, Derek Redmond got 5 surgeries on his ankle. And against all odds, by 1992, 4 years after the Olympics in Seoul, he was competing again at a world-class level, and this time he was prepared to go and race in Barcelona to win a gold medal for his country at the Olympics. He got to Spain and Barcelona, and he ran the qualifying round, and he was first, and he was at the place where he was about to run for the medal round. He broke out of the gates quickly. He was in first place running for the medal round, but just as soon as he turned to come into the home stretch, he felt his right thigh tighten up. And then he felt an audible tear. And he went down in a heap because his hamstring had just exploded. He lay on the ground, writhing in agony and pain. They called the stretcher. Everybody else just went on to the finish line. They called the stretcher for him to get him. He looked up at the stretcher and lifted his hand and raised it. And he said, I know I can't win, but I have to finish. He says, you don't know what I've been through. He said, 4 years ago, they told me I'd never run again. I must finish this race. The race was over, but every eye in the stadium was on Derek Redmond. They watched him as he struggled in agony to stand up on one leg. And he began to hop with one leg to the finish line. It got to the point where running on one leg was too much, and he tried to put weight on the other leg, and he collapsed again and was about to fall. But as he was falling, an older man jumped out of the stands. Some of you saw this one. Jumped out of the stands, and the guards began to chase the older man. And the older man turned around and said, leave me alone, that's my son out there. Mr. Jim Redmond went on out there and grabbed the son around his waist and lifted him up, and he said to his son, I know that you're in pain. I know how hard you struggled. I know how difficult it's been for you. And I know how important it is that you finish this race. He said, you might not be able to make it by yourself, but you and I will cross this finish line. And there they were, father and son, limping in tears. The other people in the race had gone into the locker room, but the crowd had not moved. Every eye on that father and on that son. Are you listening to what I'm saying? When he got to the finish line, the father backed up and let his son fall across the line alone, because that's the only way he would have been able to mark the race as finished. And as soon as he fell across the line, the father scooped him up and said, son, We made it. Don't you know, child of God, don't you understand that no matter how tired you are, how broken it gets for you, how much you failed, no matter how many things have gone wrong, no matter how inglorious your fall, that there's a God who's waiting for you just to get up again. If you stand up, yes, you're faint. Yes, you fail. Yes, you're broken. Yes, you've made mistakes. But if you just keep pursuing, your Father is ready to jump across the stands, scoop you up in arms that cannot fail, drag you against all hope so that you will not lose this race. All you've got to do is just keep on trying. Don't you know that there is no failure in God? Don't you understand that he will not let you down? He says, lo, I am with you always. Right now, there's somebody in this church right now. I've lost my equilibrium and my composure because I'm human too, and I know what it means to fail. And I know what it means to think you can't go on. And I know what it means to want to give up. But you've got to say like the old folks, I don't feel no way tired. Somebody in this room today has gotten to the point where you decided that this was your last time trying. I'm here to tell you that God says that if you put your hand in his hand, that your next attempt will be his success. All you got to do is just keep on keeping on. One more foot, one more step, one more time, one more day, one more effort. He will not let you fall. The doors of the church are now open. I'm asking the congregation to stand upon its feet. Have you understood what I've been talking to you about today? There's somebody here within the sound of my voice who had almost given up. You had almost surrendered. You had almost given up. But today you want to say to God, I want to try one more time. If that is your response today to the word of God to you, I want you to come down this aisle. The side aisles from the balcony. If you were almost giving up, but today you're renewing your commitment to God, just come on down where you are. You almost slipped. You almost let go. You almost turned around. But now God is pulling you. And you're saying, Lord, I will not stop. Will I lay down my sword and shield upon life's bloody battlefield? I want to, but I won't. Shall I give up in the heat of the day and turn around and walk away? I want to, but I won't. Shall I let go of God's unchanging hand and tell others that I cannot stand? I want to, but I won't. Somebody here today is refusing to give up by the grace of God. Won't you come down today and say, Lord, please help me try. Just help me try. Just help me make it. Just hold me close, Lord. Just let me lean on you, Lord. Just let me take a breath. Just give me a moment, Lord, and I'll try again. Now, there's somebody else here who's never tried before in their life. Somebody in this house doesn't know what it means to struggle with Christ on their side. And today you want to know what it's all about to have grace. Grace to sustain you and keep you. Well, if that is your desire today, if you want to know what it means to walk with God all the way, I want you now to take your walk down this aisle. Whoever you are, if you're in the balcony, we'll wait for you. If you're seated in this audience, whoever you are, we will wait upon you. Just come on down and say, Lord, I want to try this thing with you. You tried it without him. You tried drugs. You tried men. You tried women. You tried gambling. You tried parties. None of it's worked for you. But now God is saying, try me. Try me. If there's somebody today willing to try God for the first time, won't you come? Won't you come to him and say, Lord, I give you my hand and my heart. Make this race meaningful for me. Whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you've done. I'm going to pray, and while I'm praying, the Lord is moving in your heart. Take your walk down this aisle, even while our eyes are closed and our heads are bowed. Eternal God, we thank you that even though we are faint, we are still pursuing. We are in your house today, Lord. We might be tired, we might be broken, we might have failed, but we are here. We are here because we still believe that there's value to being in the race. We are here because we understand that you will take our hand and you will lift us up and you will cause us to stand all over again. For those who have taken their stand this day, who have come forward to seek new energy and